Happy summer, and welcome everyone to the 6th quarterly New York City Agency Commitment Update hosted by the Gowanus Oversight Task Force. Really appreciate everyone coming out and being a part of this amazing process. I'm Ben Margolis. I'm a principal with James Lima Planning and Development, and we are the task force's facilitation team. My colleagues Isabella, Kweku, and Ben Ratner are here as well. Please raise your hands. And they're here to support the meeting and support your engagement in this meeting as well. Please raise your hand if this is your first task force meeting. All right. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you also to the administration, faculty, students of PS 133 for once again sharing their space. And to RealWorks, a nonprofit on President Street, right here in Gowanus. For the audio and video tonight, RealWorks combines arts education and workforce development, guiding young adults from their first film to first job in the media industry. So raise your hands, please, technicians for tonight. Let's give them a hand, actually. Great. Okay, some quick logistics. The meeting is being recorded. That recording, along with a Spanish translation of the transcript and the presentation materials, will be made available on the task force website, which is gowanustaskforce.net, and we'll send notification when that's ready. If you haven't already picked it up or scanned the QR code, there's a meeting packet of information that provides very useful background information, including about tonight's focus, and the full list of the city's 56 commitments to Gowanus. The task force has structured these quarterly public updates to focus on two things. One is public engagement, and two is to have deeper discussions with agency partners around specific sets of city commitments and issues that are of community interest and timeliness. Tonight, the task force chose to dive into community resources and streets and safety, so we'll be hearing directly from city agencies that are leading on important commitments and projects, all aimed at resident well-being and neighborhood quality of life. To keep us below 2 hours and get us out of here early, we've allotted specific times for updates with committees and 2 breaks for public discussion on each topic. Of the 50 minutes total for agency presentations, there should be about 45 minutes for discussion with you and with the task force committees. When discussions turn to you, the audience, will alternate between questions written on note cards, and if you didn't get a note card, raise your hand and let us know. That we'll collect during the meeting, and then from audience members who raise their hands. So we'll alternate between what's written and brought up to the table and anybody who just wants to raise their hand and ask. We have 2 mobile microphones when we're ready for Q&A, and some really important guidance, as this is a working task force meeting. Questions related to specific topic and city commitments under discussion tonight and being presented will definitely be prioritized. Please ask 1 question at a time, and let's just generally be respectful of our time commitments and make sure everybody has a chance to engage and to learn. All questions and answers, whether out loud or submitted on a card, are going to be posted on the task force website within 2 weeks of tonight. So if you don't get to ask a question tonight, please write them down or send questions into info@gowanustaskforce.net in the next few days. We're going to repeat this information throughout the night, so if you didn't catch it, it's okay. We'll see it again. For those especially who are new to its work, the task force is made up of 33 community volunteers. Many of you've hopefully met. They are your neighbors, and maybe you met them on the way in tonight. After a decade of planning and advocacy, oversight of city commitments that were won during the neighborhood rezoning process was a major community priority. In fact, this task force is commitment number 1 of the 56 that were agreed upon with the city. A full list of those commitments is in your packet and on the website in more detail. It's a unique model of community oversight and engagement, working under the crazy assumption that the community city elected officials can actually all work proactively and productively together to solve issues and advance promises and projects for Gowanus. And in Gowanus, we're working to solve many issues and advance $450 million worth of commitments and investments promised to the community, including $200 million to address priority capital needs in Gowanus houses and Wyckoff Gardens. Taken together, the 56 commitments truly hold the potential to positively impact the quality of life for decades to come. They're multifaceted, often requiring major agency coordination, and are often on different timelines, some implemented over many, many years. So the task force works to track all 56 of these commitments. Agency updates are available on the task force website on the commitments page, and will be updated within 2 weeks of tonight, and we'll send notification when that's completed. Some quick selected updates since we last met. On Wednesday, June 26th, the NYCHA board unanimously approved authorization of the design build contracts for Gowanus houses. That's $148 million in contracts, and Wyckoff Gardens, $68 million, to advance the city's commitment to fund comprehensive in-unit renovations at all apartments. Technico Mega is the name of the company that is the selected contractor, and we'll certainly be meeting them over the next years. The Department of Small Business Services, or SBS, released a request for proposal for a recruitment partner for Gowanus Community Board 6 and NYCHA residents to identify folks to take part in a workforce training program that they will also be unveiling in the next couple of weeks. The RFP is a step forward, an important one in that commitment. There's a selected recruitment partner identified via that RFP that's still going through the contracting process, but SBS tells us that recruitment should start later this summer, and the task force will certainly help get the word out about that process. Finally, the Gowanus Canal Environmental Remediation Trust, which was established to oversee and fund the cleanup of the canal, has submitted a 90% design for the bulkhead at Bond Street, and that's the site of a city commitment for future public space. The task force is working collaboratively with multiple city agencies to better understand how these areas, called street ends, are designed, reviewed, and ultimately built for public enjoyment. So more on that to come in subsequent meetings and discussions. So let's get rolling. The following presentations are going to feature multiple city agencies tasked with carrying out promised investments in community resources. The Task Force's Public Infrastructure Committee and the Housing Committee are going to provide a little bit of framing for this focus area discussion. Yep. And we have our partners from DYCD, DDC, and NYCHA with us. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Stephen Schechter, and I'm joined in the audience by fellow Public Infrastructure Committee members who can raise their hands and say hi, and members of the Housing Committee up here on the dais. So as you know, a major impact of the Gowanus rezoning is the development of thousands of new apartments and a significant increase in population in the area. And new neighbors are already moving into some of these developments. This population growth will result in increased demand on local infrastructure and community resources, which is what we term the things we'll be discussing tonight. And some of these community resources are the focus of our discussion tonight. So we'll be discussing community centers at both Wyckoff Gardens and the Gowanus houses, the Old Stone House at Washington Park, Brooklyn Public Library's Pacific Branch, and public art at both public and privately owned sites along the canal. One of the overarching objectives of the Gowanus Points of Agreement is to ensure that existing resources are improved and that new ones are built with access for all. Today we're joined by representatives from Brooklyn Public Library, the New York City Housing Authority, and the New York City Departments of Parks and Recreation, Design and Construction, Youth and Community Development, and City Planning. I'd like to take a moment just to thank all of the agencies and their representatives who are here and those that we've worked with for the spirit of cooperation that they all exhibited during our discussions that brought us here to this evening. We can't do our work without their commitment to the committee and the task force, and for that we're grateful. We've asked all these agencies to update us on the status of their respective projects and share the latest schedules. With this information, the task force and all of us can determine if the city is meeting its commitments to all of us and our neighbors. And with that, I think I'll turn it over to the representatives from NYCHA and DYCD.
Great, and just before you launch in, just a reminder, again, questions might come to you as you listen to the information being presented. Just a reminder, you can prepare your questions on the card or prepare them for yourself by raising your hand when we get to the Q&A period, but please take it away.
Good evening, everybody. This is DYCD. I'm granting you with the DDC. Should I let DYCD lead? Or?
Up to you guys. You want to go in that order?
Do you want to
Sure.
take it? Okay, fantastic.
If I may,
Maybe I'll switch with you so you can.
Start with construction, go to programming was the idea, right? Okay.
Fantastic. And there we are. Good evening, everyone. I am Grant Ewing with the Department of Design and Construction. Thank you for the task force for having me. Thank you for the community for having me. As Ben said, this is a working task force, so events like these are not only an opportunity for me to present DDC's latest progress on important projects like the Gowanus Community Center, but also hear feedback, gain insight from the folks on the ground who actually are going to use these projects at the end of the day. So going into the project, and maybe to start out with what is DDC as a whole. So the Department of Design and Construction, I like to say, is the city's engineers and architects. So a lot of DOT, DEP, or in this case, NYCHA capital projects, we come in and we help them manage the design and construction and help the projects get built. So the Gowanus Community Center is a renovation of the existing center, bringing things up to speed with lighting, with fire protection, with ADA compliance. You see on the screen above me, there's the scope. I'm going to go through those in detail, and I know time is pressing. So if you have questions, please stop at any point and shout them out to me. So on the project schedule, this goes into where we started design and where we are now. So construction completion is a matter of months away. I talked to the project manager just a little bit before this meeting. He said we're at 99% completion. The only thing we have left right now is FDNY fire inspection. And I got great news again from that project manager saying that after their first inspection, they told us a few things that we needed that happened a couple weeks ago. We sent that to them today. That was approved. So all that's left is scheduling a second inspection with the FDNY inspector, getting approval. And we anticipate handing the project and building over to NYCHA and DYCD probably mid-August, I think. Mid-August or late September at the earliest, or at the latest. But I'm very optimistic about the recent news, very optimistic about how the project's been the last couple months, especially with DYCD and NYCHA overlapping a lot of their work as we're still in the building, bringing in furniture, bringing in materials. So the three agencies here, we're trying to coordinate as much as possible to be as efficient as possible so we can bring this community hub back online for the community that really deserves a center like this. And you see the budget breakdown too. That is funding from NYCHA's capital planning and the breakdown of design and construction costs. So again, going a little bit more into the scope. On the bathrooms, we have new bathrooms in the game room, the meeting room, with new tiled floors and walls. We've completed modifications for the bathrooms in the lounge, corridor, and office. On electricity, new LED light fixtures, energy efficient lighting throughout the two rooms, throughout the community center, new telephone and data outlets, New security system, you see the control panel right there that has outdoor security, so anyone using the center knows exactly what's going on inside and outside. So in the kitchen, we have 2 new refrigerators, layout for new pantries and counters, and fully up-to-date fire protection measures and valves, exhaust. On interior work, there's new doors in the corridor, as you see here, new paint jobs throughout our project area. And then on the rooftop, the HVAC unit we put in is a split system that has these condenser units on the top and then fan coil units in each room that we've completed the project. And so that's going to bring heat or cooling, whatever the season, so central air in the project. Exterior work, a lot of updates to the facade, making ramps for ADA compliance to get into the center. And then lastly, a little more on our interior work. You'll see the painting in the community center. You see a few details that show new fire alarm, new exit signs, so all up-to-date signage within the project area. And I'm really proud of the work that we've completed, and I'm very proud to have the coordination between these agencies to get this thing back into the hands of the community. And that was our quick update, but I'm more than welcome to answer any questions now or after.
Yeah, why don't we wait until the designated time?
event.
But yeah, thank you very much. Want to go programming? Great. Let me know when you want to advance a slide.
Thank you very much. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Thompson. I am presently the Director for Community Engagement at DYCD and have been working closely with our stakeholders up here. And also I'd like to introduce that I have here present with us is the leadership for the Grand Street Settlement Cornerstone Program and also the Spanish-speaking Elderly Council, which is the Older Adult Center. So if you ladies can just kind of come over. I want people to be able to see the face and the name. You're very welcome. So when DYCD was asked to come in and support and provide programming and services, our first point of community engagement was connecting with the Gowanus Resident Association within the development. We had many touch points and meetings from late 2023 up until current. We also invited the Gowanus RA to provide a list of Gowanus residents who would be interested in being on an interview panel, which would interview the prospective CBOs to provide programming and services inside of the community center. And from those interviews, the Gowanus interview panel had chosen Grand Street Settlement. After that point, there was a lot of coordination with not only NYCHA, DDC, but also Grand Street, also the Resident Association, also the Department for the Aging, who provides the oversight for the Spanish-speaking elderly RACs, older adult program. A lot of coordination ensuring that everyone who would be providing services and occupying the building were having transparent conversations to make sure that we could figure out what this would look like on the ground level. After that point, we wanted to ensure that the public knew exactly what we were doing and what was going on from phase to phase. So we hosted monthly community meetings at the Van Allen Institute nearby the community center as it was still being renovated. Those meetings were hybrid, so they were in person as well as virtual. So those who could not attend in person attended via Zoom. Thank you so much to Andrew and Shaloa at the Van Allen Institute for allowing us space to make sure that we had contact with the public. After those points, Grand Street Settlement also hosted administrative office hours inside of Van Allen. So any family who had questions about programming, summer services, what was going on, or needed an application to apply for program could do so in person at the Van Allen Institute. In addition to that, they were also looking for staff for vacancies to hire within the program directly from the community as well. A lot of flyers went out and communication via NYCHA and the RA to help us market that. We wanted to ensure that at every step of the way there was community voice, a platform, an opportunity to exchange feedback with us along the way, just to make sure that we weren't missing any gaps, and also to ensure that us coming in, we could hear what historically has worked well, what can be improved, and making sure that there's a vehicle for adult and youth voice to be heard to help build out the program. Next slide, please. I'd like to have the team up here introduce themselves and give you a little bit more reference to upcoming summer program, where that's going to be, what is being offered, and what we can look forward to in the future. So I'll hand it over to Kiami Day, who is the program director for the Grand Street Settlement Cornerstone Program.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. As Jennifer said, my name is Kiami Day, and I am the program director for the Gowanus Community Center. Grand Street Settlement is very excited to be a part of the community. Just a little bit of background information. Grand Street Settlement has 10 cornerstones already. Gowanus is the 11th. And at our cornerstone programs, we offer academic support as well as recreational activities and other special initiatives for children and adults. Due to the ongoing construction that's taking place at the Gowanus Community Center right now, our summer program has been relocated to a school in Brooklyn, PS 146, the Brooklyn New School, so we'll be running summer program from there. The hours will be from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and we are currently servicing from kindergarten to 5th grade. The school is close to like the F and the G line for anybody who's thinking about commuting. We will not be doing pickup, so we are expecting parents and guardians to drop off and pick up their children from the school. We are also providing free trips, STEM projects, a lot of project-based learning, so that's how we'll be engaging the kids. Also for future programming, as you guys heard earlier, the Gowanus Community Center is expected to open in mid-August, September. And so once we're inside the building, we'll be running our full program, which will be the after school as well as the evening program. And the hours will be from 2 to 10 p.m. And yeah, we'll be offering services for elementary students, middle school, as well as adults and senior citizens. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisette Sosa-Dixon, and I'm the Executive Director of the Spanish-Speaking Elderly Council, and we oversee the Gowanus Older Adult Center. So just a little background in terms of who we are. We're a nonprofit organization, and we've actually been in the community offering a continuum of services to our older adults for the last 46 years. And we are funded by New York City Aging, formerly known as DFTA, and we currently are overseeing 11 direct service sites in both Brooklyn and in Queens. And we have, in addition, included in that are our 9 older adult centers. We have a case assistance division that's really critical in terms of providing counseling for benefits and entitlements that many of our older adults may not even realize that they're eligible for. And we also have a licensed outpatient mental health clinic, and that offers services to those who are 18 years old and over. And really what this is really an exciting opportunity for us. You know, not being able to offer critical services to our older adults in the community has been really hard, because the Gowanus Older Adult Center has been in the community for about 23 years. So shutting down was hard, but we're excited. We're excited about sharing the space. With the Cornerstone program, the wonderful thing is that we've been having meetings a series of meetings and walkthroughs, and we've been discussing and going over the logistics. And obviously, like any transition, it's going to take a little time, but the relationship has been established, which is critical in terms of how we're going to navigate the space and how we're going to ensure that everything runs smoothly for the sake of, the center and also more importantly for the community. So in addition, just to give you a little bit of background in terms of the Gowanus Senior Center itself, we're prepared to start programming as soon as the building is set and we get the green light. We'll be ready to move in, and our hours of operation will be Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Some of the services that we offer include, as I mentioned before, the Case Assistance Division, and also a nutritious lunch meal from 12 to 1 p.m. daily. Some of the activities include holidays and celebrations, which is something that's so critical, especially after everything we've been through with the pandemic and the feelings of isolation and depression and anxiety. So celebrating life is something that we really emphasize and focus on at our centers. We have health and wellness activities that include brain and memory exercises, painting classes, Zumba. We have an affiliation, a beautiful partnership with the New York Roadrunners, Striders Walking Club, because walking and exercising is so critical to our well-being and to our mental health. So that's something that many of our older adults have enjoyed. We're also going to be collaborating with one of our larger sites, which is the Times Plaza Senior Center located on Atlantic Avenue. It's a larger site, but we're looking forward to collaborating on trips to really get us out, because many of our older adults really have been asking for it and we have heard it. And we're answering your call in terms of really encouraging our outdoor activities. And some of those trips have included trips to the Botanical Garden, Radio City, sightseeing trips, Broadway shows. We had one group this week that went to go see the Michael Jackson play and they loved it. And yet just yesterday, one of our beloved participants is in the audience, and they just came back from a sight and sound trip, which is fantastic. They enjoyed that as well. And even having our picnics. Again, the fellowship is so critical. The gatherings are so critical, and the socialization. So we're looking forward, and in addition to that, I think it's important to mention that we also serve as a cooling site, so we can offer that assistance as well. So as I said before, again, we're looking forward to coming back to our center, to being available, making ourselves available to our older adults and providing critical services. So thank you for having us, and thank you to our new partners.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking time to attend this meeting today. I'm here for the first time, and I want to thank the facilitation team and the housing committee for having us. And I am Mayank Kumar from NYCHA, and I'm joined by my colleague John White, who is standing in the back, and that's cool. So I'm going to go very quickly. We're going to present the update on the community center, and so that you have more time to ask questions and go through the rest of the agenda. So the project scope includes 1,700 square feet of addition to an existing community center. And the new space will include men's and women's bathroom, office and classroom, and a new kitchen space. The center is going to be operated by Hardshare. Hardshare currently runs the center, they run the programming, but the new space is going to be used as a training kitchen, and they will hold cooking classes in there. The project is currently in construction phase. The funding amount is $4.58 million. The funding is coming from New York City Council, and also there is additional funding from HUD, but majority is coming from New York City Council. The construction timeline is approximately 18 months. The project construction has started this month, June 2024, and the estimated end date is the December 2025. On this slide, there are two images. The top right image shows the existing condition. So this is the grass area where the new addition is going to take place. On the top right picture, you see the building in the back, that is the existing residential building, and the building to the right is the existing community center. And the rendering that you see on the bottom is the new addition, 1,700 square feet. It's a 12-story high building and has a 4 feet railing on the top. The roof is not accessible for public. This is only for maintenance staff to service the HVAC equipments and things like that. The rendering also shows the landscaping that is part of this project. It includes like raised planters and walkways and things like that. This is the floor plan. I think the top of the slide is missing here. This is the floor plan and the elevations. The floor plan again shows you the women's and the men's bathroom and the new kitchen. This is the bathroom, women's bathroom, men's bathroom, and the new kitchen. This is the office / the classroom space here. And this portion here in the white, this is the existing community center. So these corridor spaces will be the connection to this new space. The elevations on the right, again, it's a 12-story high building with 4 feet railing. This is the new addition. This is the existing residential building, and this is the existing community center. This is some additional conceptual renderings. Again, this is the south wall, and you see these are the windows. That is for the classroom / office here at the bottom, and this is the interior rendering of the kitchen. This slide explains the recent and upcoming activities which is expected in the next phase of this project. So the contractor, as I said, contractor has mobilized earlier this month. They have delivered the trailer, the construction trailer on site. The staging area preparation is taking place, and along with the fencing installation. Starting July 1st, they are going to do the asbestos abatement and excavation and shoring for the building foundation. NYCHA project team holds bi-weekly meetings with the stakeholders, which includes the property management and the resident association president every other week. The last meeting was on June 18th. The next one is coming up in July 2nd. Last but not the least is Section 3. So those who don't know, Section 3 is a HUD mandate. This is a requirement for any capital project to provide economic opportunities for NYCHA residents and any low-income families in the city. So as part of this project, the construction management firm has hired one individual for administrative assistant position, and the general contractor is working with NYCHA and the resident leaders to hire another position that they are still trying to work through. So as I said, they are working very closely with the TA president, the tenant association president, and the property management to find the individual who they can hire. And there is regular touch point with all the stakeholders as we move forward in this project. So that was my last slide. Sorry.
It's okay. Oh, look at that.
Awesome.
Great job, Mike.
Thank you.
So before we hand it over to you, why don't we have the committee members, if you want to ask a couple of questions to kind of frame the Q&A. I just want to use the microphone, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Vine Richardson White. I'm a resident of Gowanus. I wanted to ask one question about commute for the children for your center, for the afternoon centers, or the program for the summer. You said that they would have to bring the children themselves and pick them up. So there's no way that you could offer transportation.
So we were considering that.
Just want to use the microphone, please. Yeah.
Hello? Yes. We were considering having maybe some of our staff go to Gowanus to pick up kids from there and then bring them back to the school. However, we felt that that may be a safety concern in the case that something is going on outside and we don't have a safe location for our kids and staff to report to. So it would be safer if parents or guardians are just dropping the kids off at the school and picking them up from there as well.
Well, the children that you would be picking up from Gowanus, I think if you pick them up from the center, that would be a safe space. They would be accompanied with their parents.
Yes, but being that the center won't be open, the idea would be that the staff would be going there and kind of just standing outside in the front waiting for the kids, which wouldn't be an issue, but we're thinking like in the case that something happens in the community that we can't control and we don't foresee, we want to make sure that we have a location that our staff and participants can go inside of if they need to, if it's like an emergency or something like that.
Okay, but my concern is that some of these parents are not going to be able to accompany their kids because of car fare, and maybe they'll not be able to accompany their kids there. That we could find another way to get them over to the school. I understand your concern about safety and whatnot, but it seems like it's something that some conclusion we can come to get them there, because the kids are going to be left out if they can't get to the school. Because everybody's not going to be able to bring the kids. Some parents will be going to maybe to work, at that time. And if we could come up with a program or someone that would watch the kids or monitor the kids until they're picked up. So if you would pick them up, what were you going to pick them up in, a bus or school bus?
So, Ms. Vaime, if I may add, currently right now, Grand Street has personally called every individual family who has registered the child for summer camp to explain about the safety and also a liability in regards to transporting the children back and forth from the school to the center. Thus far, all the families understand and have agreed and said that they were okay with traveling to the school and bringing their own child back home. If at any point it starts to be a hardship, we can definitely revisit another way, but we also want to ensure liability covers the program when they are inside of a building, not necessarily outside at this juncture. So we want to make sure that we're covering all bases and not leaving anyone uncovered, if that makes sense.
So that couldn't be by a school bus? Because now children do go to the curbside to get on the school bus.
If the enrollment increases enough to fill an entire bus, we can definitely explore that. Right now at this point, the registration is not at its max, and so families have confirmed that they are okay with traveling to the school, which is only about 15 minutes away.
Okay. I'm not satisfied with that, but if that's what they want.
Sounds like there's an opening for more conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but we want to ensure that there is a safe space for summer services to continue. If we could have had it closer in another school, we would have definitely explored that. The schools nearby are having their own construction and cannot accept anyone in the building during that time. So we definitely know it's not ideal for it, but we have a space and something can definitely transpire for the summer.
I think why she brought that question up is because even though—
Introduce yourself, Teresa.
I think why she brought that question up because even though you may have spoken to some of the parents speak to us in the community. And some parents are agreeing to it, but some parents are saying it's kind of hard for them to try to get out to take their child over to that school. And some of them happen to leave at a specific time to go to work, some of them that do work. And we do have some tenants in the area that sit watch some of the kids, or in the summertime and the wintertime, they used to drop these kids off at the schools that they were going to. So that would be some other idea that y'all can look into. Maybe assisting them in some type of way at paying them to pick up the kids, because they know the kids. They do this all the time. They pick up the kids. What is her name? Sis? She picks up, you have other people that's in the community that pick up kids. Right, that pick up the kids in the community and drop them off at school because their parents are working. So that there are other avenues to utilize within the development with people if that becomes an issue also.
I think that we can definitely talk offline and meet and explore some other options that might be able to work. We can meet in the middle.
Other questions?
Yeah. So I guess
Just please introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Teresa, you want to introduce yourself?
Monica Underwood from Wyckoff Gardens, and this is Teresa Davis from Gowanus. I guess my question is, how much money do you need to fix up the community centers at Wyckoff Gardens and Gowanus? So I guess this is a nice question.
So your question is, how much money do we need to fix the Wyckoff Community Center? So that, it depends upon what we are trying to fix. The current project here, this is an addition to the existing community center, and this is $4.58 million. This is a 1,700 square feet addition. So we are not going inside the existing community center to fix anything. This is just the addition, which is the 1,700 square feet.
So the addition is it on the front? Because the way you showed the picture, I'm not sure.
If you look at the slide here, you see where the existing, this is the existing residential building, and this is the existing community center.
On the top right.
It's in the,
Is it on the front or the back? That's what I'm asking.
it's in the back. It's in the back.
Right, it's in the back, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So another question, with Gowanus Community Center,
Yeah.
why that couldn't be done with Gowanus Community Center? Because it's so small, and we have a lot of people that would love for their kids to go there, or other programming there, because it's not that much space. The only people that can utilize the space is the organization that's in there and the adult programs, the senior program. We have to look for our own space, the tenant association, to have meetings and things like that, when before we used to have meetings inside the community center, but it's not enough of space. So why Gowanus couldn't be utilized where they open it towards the back to add more room to it? That was some of the questions that was addressed when we was having meetings long before now.
So I can address the first part. The community center and the Cornerstone program are definitely open to hosting the Gowanus Resident Association tenant meetings, monthly meetings inside the center. That is something that is best practice for us and all of our cornerstones, that our RA or TAs can host their monthly meetings inside the community center. And definitely any other activities and/or events that the RA is looking to host year to year, we have a period in time where our Cornerstone program maps out their program plan for the upcoming year, and we have it where best practices, they meet with the RA to go over that, to figure out where your events intersect or how they can support. So that's always ongoing, and there is a mandated formal monthly meeting with the RA just so that we have those opportunities throughout the year and we don't miss any touch points. So there isn't necessarily a split to say only members in the Cornerstone program or the Older Adult Center are the only people who can be there. Anyone can register for the programs, and it's free, and there is no cost to anyone to attend any of the activities and/or events year to year.
So what I'm saying is, when we used to have our center before, okay, we used to have programs in there. I think everybody that sit up here, we used to have different programming or events for the tenants, may be different from what y'all are slated to have in there. So we're really not allowed to do those type of things. We have to give y'all, I think, 3 months prior to say if we're gonna have something and it depends on what it is? Are y'all still gonna allow the tenants to have, if someone passes away, will they have repasses? So those are some of the other things that some of the tenants ask questions about, because they would like to be able to have their repass with someone, family member or somebody passes away. They would be able to utilize the center.
So I think the committee has lots of suggestions about improvements and,
Ms. Thomas could speak.
yeah, no, but I think we got to move on as well. Okay.
Yeah, I will just respond very quickly to one point. If you are looking for some similar expansion, like in Wyckoff or Gowanus, we would encourage the resident leaders and association to seek funding from their local electeds. So if NYCHA can help come up with amount of like budget, like how much it's going to cost to do an expansion, we can provide that information to the tenant association, but it is up to the tenant association to seek funding and ask for funding from the local electeds.
I'm sorry, but I am Teresa Davis. I am the tenant association's one of the presidents, and some of my other members are out there sitting. So, okay, we will do so, along with our tenants.
Let's take a couple of questions just from the audience. And if anybody, just because this is an important topic, an important place, if anybody has written down anything on a note card, raise your hand if you want to ask a question about this topic to these agency representatives. Please let us know, but first question here, please. So microphone here. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Eric Way. I'm the Vice President of Gowanus Houses. What you just said basically didn't make any sense, because there is no way theoretically to build on the Gowanus Community Center, and they put in a baller building in back of the community center. So how would they be able to build to expand in the Gowanus Community Center unless they build outwards and take up the space of the ramp and the walkway? So that cannot happen, because I am a construction worker. I'm a local 731, and I've done a lot of the capital gains projects in the Gowanus houses. So that expansion for Wyckoff, it will work, but that would not work in Gowanus. So you can't even say that they can do that, an expansion like that, because that cannot happen in Gowanus.
Yeah, hi, John White, Senior Capital Projects Coordinator. No, thank you so much. I think one of the struggles that we have, we want to make sure we're trying to answer everybody's question, and I think maybe there might have been a mishearing, like about, in regards to the scope. When it comes time for us to create, in the future, you advocate with your local elected official for the amount of funds you want or you need for the community center. When the time comes for the creation of that scope, that'll be between yourself, your leadership, the resident community, the elected official, and the NYCHA Asset and Capital Management team to find out what's feasible. So, what's possible here, as you're saying, wouldn't be possible in your development. Absolutely. There are different, what I believe the original question was what kind of renovations can happen at Gowanus? Those, once we have funding, we can create a scope to that funding. So absolutely, we appreciate you bringing up the site conditions. As a former construction worker myself, listen, when I smell it, I know it. You know what I mean? But I think what Mayank was trying to say was like, we're happy to build to the amount of funding that we get, right? So it's not a question of what we can't carbon copy what we do at one site to another. We want to work with the residents, we want to work with the elected officials, and we want to work with the community to do what's right for everybody. So, yeah, thank you.
Question here?
My name is Mike Chen. Actually, this question is for yourself. I noticed that during all of the slides, that with all the different various improvements, I didn't see anything that was green. So no solar panels or no infrastructure in case if there was massive flooding. And I know that there was quite a few folks here very interested in finding alternative ways to solve these issues, weather and climate issues. And I was just surprised that I did not see it. And then the second point I had was, when was the Gowanus Community Center supposed to have been open?
Many moons
Good
ago.
question, Mike.
Many moons ago.
So on the first question, our designer did design the building with all the New York State and city energy efficient laws in mind. So we do see LED lighting, and we do see a lot of new energy efficient. The way the HVAC is run is a lot more energy efficient. So we do have those green energy initiatives built within the project. And I think as to the second question, as far as when DVC comes in, when we were handed the project and started our design phase, that was in 2019, and then we were delayed during COVID. And so we picked back up around late 2020, 2021, and then we're all set to wrap up construction in just a few short weeks, mid-August.
And as we all know, in New York, like we have a massive heat wave going on. And so I guess because we do not have a community center that serves seniors, I do not know, but what has the community done to have more cooling centers? And have you also made the community aware that there is a delay in the opening of the community center? Because as far as I'm concerned and what I've heard, a lot of these seniors are really excited for July. And now it seems like it's going to be pushed back all the way till September. So nobody knows what's going on. And I think there is an issue of transparency that we need to discuss, or at least y'all should have an idea or, a better way to disseminate the information.
No, understood. That's a fantastic point. I know we're in touch with community leaders at this table and advocates like yourself. I would be happy to meet directly with the community residents, either sometime later maybe next week, seeing as it's already Thursday evening, but I'd be happy to give this presentation and field any more questions as well, talk about timelines, talk about project history. So always happy to have that conversation.
Great. I would suggest definitely continued conversation and work with the committee. Let's take 2 more questions on this because we got to get to other agencies. Kira, please.
Well, looking at the design, it's this one-story building, and I wonder why would that one-story building fulfill the capacity of newly arrived seniors or residents, and why couldn't it be built like 2, 3, 4 stories higher to accommodate rooms for the necessary community services? I mean,
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. I think fundamentally, we want to build as much as we can, but budget dictates what we can do, and running new kitchen lines, new gas lines, plumbing is expensive, and that's what ate up a significant amount of the budget, and expanding and creating a new building is a large expense.
I'm sure there are cheaper wholesalers who can provide better services also.
We build union.
They're not union?
No, we are a union town.
Well, yeah, well, that's where all the money goes, not to the materials.
Yeah, prevailing wage, labor, materials. Like, when you're talking about cheaper stuff, what do you think it comes out of?
One final question here, please.
Ben, I'm sorry, I have a question for Ray. This is for about the seniors.
Can we get one more from the audience,
Sure can.
please? Yeah.
Okay, I'm Kelly. I grew up in Gowanus houses, and my question is there a possibility of having community engagement activities outdoors in the meantime while the community center is being built in the Gowanus houses? Like, yeah.
There is. There could be definitely a conversation around that. Right now, our expectation too was of a specific timeline, and now we've had to pivot somewhat, and so we have also in the monthly meetings asked for additional feedback on what are some things that folks would like to see in terms of engagement, and we can definitely work with the resident association in surveying what type of engagement activity could take place in the front area of the center, but also we'd have to invite NYCHA to that conversation to get approval for something to happen outside on the grounds.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to do one final question from the committee. Remember, if you don't get a chance to ask a question now, please write it down. We'll flash up the info@GowanusTaskForce.net address again. But let's finalize this, and then we're going to have a switch up of agencies and move on to other community resources.
Okay, so my question is for raises. I always say the name wrong. So I know you have good program at the Atlantic Center because I am a New York Strider. I want to know if you can have better programs at Wyckoff. You know, they need more programming for the seniors there. You know, can you work on that? That's very important for our community.
Well, I definitely recognize, so I appreciate you saying that. Well, one of the things that we're really looking forward to is our new fiscal year starting on July 1st. And so we see it as our New Year's, right? We're gonna start fresh. We're gonna start with innovative ideas. We have marketing campaign that's gonna be taking place so that we can offer more innovative and creative activities for our older adults. Because they are older but they're living stronger and they want more things and they want to be able to be actively involved in various things. It's not just, so in answer to your question, we definitely recognize that, and we've been meeting as a team in terms of what can we come up with that will make it more enticing and more interesting and more engaging for our older adults. So I appreciate that.
Do you meet with the director of the center?
Of course.
Because that has a lot to do with it.
Absolutely.
Also.
Absolutely. We have team meetings. So I appreciate that. Thank you for that feedback.
And the TA.
I'm sorry?
And the TA.
And the TA.
That should be included in that. That's important because we have, Atlantic Avenue has a great program. But like I said, Wyckoff Gardens need a lot of work from raises.
Well, we
for the
plan on
seniors.
meeting.
And I also noticed that you're actually, at nighttime, you don't have a senior program for the seniors at night. Am I right?
Well, that's interesting because we have try to gauge the interest in in evening activities. However, some of our seniors, a large majority of them, do not feel safe at night, and they feel more comfortable. Well, I'm just saying some. I didn't say all.
That's not Wyckoff.
But
and that's not Gowanus.
Well, we will definitely, again, we are open because our new fiscal year is coming. We are open to new ideas.
Yeah, we're warriors.
So it's something worth exploring.
Okay.
So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Super appreciate it. Hand, please, just for DYCD, DDC, NYCHA. Gonna have a really quick switch. Move quickly. We're calling Parks, Brooklyn Public Library, and DCP, Department of City Planning, to the stage. Thank you, Housing Committee. And other members of the Public Infrastructure Committee want to come up?
Parks first.
Parks.
Of course we are. It's a live mic. I just said Parks first.
And you want to frame this one? Or is it very brief? Yeah, okay. Okay, hello.
Here, just to, can I have this for a second? Just to add a little bit of context. I mean, the group that we just heard from.
Everybody, please, just 1 second.
Just to add a little bit of context, the group that we just heard from has been waiting for over 10 years for these issues to be addressed. And the fact that they're still on it, they still want it to be right, it's worth going over time to make sure it's right.
Want to kick this one off?
Sure. I know in the interest of time, I'm going to be very brief. I want to introduce Elizabeth Earnish from the Department of Parks and Recreation. Like the other agencies that we work with, they've been very responsive and have updated us on a regular basis. This will give the committee, this will give everyone who doesn't spend the time to go to the tracker online to find out exactly what's going on with this project. And then in the interest of time, I'll introduce Michelle Bonin and Christy DeMonico, from the library. And I wrote it down. Not Elizabeth. I'm sorry. Emily Bachman from the Department of City Planning, and I'm joined by Leslie Davall, Johnny Thornton, S.J. Avery, my colleagues on the Public Infrastructure Committee. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Earnish. I'm with the Parks Department. I'm wearing a different hat today. I'm going to actually talk about a building. Usually I talk about a park. But some of our parks have buildings. And in this case, we're going to talk about the Old Stone House, which is a historic building in Washington Park, right across the street from MS 51. And during the community engagement for the rezoning, it became very apparent that that is a very important structure, building in terms of like community engagement and meetings, et cetera. Like it's really the heart of, I guess, Eastern Gowanus. And we didn't have an elevator. And so it was really not accessible for many, many members of our community. So we drafted working with Old Stone House and the community and Community Board 6, we put together a scope of work to correct that issue. And we were awarded a nice tidy sum of money, $10.9 million. And let's not get into the whole union thing or maybe, I don't know. So here's our scope of work. We're gonna have 2 new bathrooms, all gendered bathrooms, an elevator, an egress stair, and then 2 new multi-purpose activity rooms. This is in addition to the existing footprint of the Old Stone House. And then we're going to spruce up the Old Stone House as well. New mechanicals, electrical, plumbing, upgrade the public bathroom. If you're familiar with the site, that's the bathroom that's right across the street from MS 51. Refurbishing the roof, all that, fixing it, sprucing it up, new exterior lighting, new windows, et cetera. So this is, to give you some context, the building is in the middle of the park. It separates the playground from the turf field. Really ironically, the middle image there, where you see that pavilion, which is no longer there, that's where we're putting our addition. So in some ways, the new addition, which the third rendering is the little yellow square that will show you the footprint of the elevator, is in the same footprint of an existing structure that was attached to the Old Stone House. So we think that that really complements the historic nature of the building. This shows you the floor plan. You'll walk into the Old Stone House through the gallery. And then to your right, you will see the new community room and a new bathroom and the elevator that takes you to the lovely second floor. And if you ever had an opportunity to attend an event there, it's just lovely. And now more people will be able to enjoy that space. There's like a twin of the first floor on the second floor, another activity room, elevator, and bathroom. And this is, you can faintly see it, a rendering of what it'll look like. We think it will enhance the park and add so much value to this very special public space. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you.
We're going to run through all 3 and then the last question. Great. Library.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have one more. This is, the unveil. I got 3 minutes and I was taking that seriously. So right now we're wrapping up design. Some of the images I showed you that's the product of the design process. We'll wrap that up in November. We'll go through what's known as procurement, where we take those plans and we try to find a contractor, a union contractor, to build it. And then construction usually takes 12 to 18 months. A building is a little more complicated. But we hope to start that construction process in late 2025.
Awesome.
I think that's it, right? Oh, you can skip all through that.
All right.
All right.
Hi. Is this close enough?
Should be. Why don't you bring it a little closer? Thank you.
Daunting. Okay. Hi, I'm Michelle Bonin. I'm Vice President for Government and Community Relations at Brooklyn Public Library.
And I'm Christy Maduro. I'm the Vice President of Capital Finance and Real Estate for Brooklyn Public Library.
Should go to the next slide for us.
A little bit.
Little louder.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Christy Maduro, the Vice President of Capital Finance and Real Estate for Brooklyn Public Library.
Do you need to go again?
Yeah.
And I'm Michelle Bonin, Vice President for Government and Community Relations at Brooklyn Public Library.
Okay, so I'll just give a really brief background on the branch because it's our oldest. It was one of the first branches donated by Andrew Carnegie. It was donated to us in 1903. It opened for the first time in October of 1904. The last major renovation at the branch was done in 1975 after a fire in 1973 almost prevented us from reopening the branch, but the community fought to have it reopened, and so it was renovated in 75. It's about 16,000 square feet, which may not sound that big, but it's actually quite large for our library system. It is plagued by some areas being inaccessible. There's not an elevator that connects the basement to the second floor. So it means people with physical disabilities can't access the entire branch. Despite this, the branch is highly utilized. It has some of our highest statistics for usage, and it's a much-loved staple of the community. Because it hasn't had a renovation since 75, the infrastructure is well past its useful life, and the layout needs to be modernized so it can better serve the community.
Okay. In May 2019, the Brooklyn Public Library met with the Friends of Pacific Library, community leaders, and at the time, Councilmember Lander, to plan for collecting community feedback for a vision for the library. Together, we pulled together an online and print survey to collect patron and community feedback. We hosted an interactive bulletin board in Pacific Library, and we hosted in-person community workshops to identify priorities for a branch renovation. And we talked to many neighborhood leaders and organizations to gather feedback. The image you see here is of the visioning report that we compiled after this process, all the research, all the data that we learned through the community visioning process. You can see some of the top line priorities here identified, but so these are some of the big things that we heard that needed to be reflected in a Pacific Library renovation. I don't need to read them all to you. Great. If you'd like to read it, this lives on the Pacific Library website.
Terrific. Okay, we'll talk about funding in the next slide, but I'm just going to cover what the scope of the current Pacific Overhaul project is. Again, given that the last renovation was almost 50 years ago, or was just about more than 50 years ago, the scope includes a full overhaul of all the infrastructure. That would be the mechanical, plumbing, and electrical systems, plus we're going to be doing work on the facade, including a permanent ramp for ADA accessibility. It will also include an interior renovation that'll help modernize the layout and include contemporary amenities such as outlets, which everyone needs now, and daylighting fixtures, things like that. And obviously the installation of an elevator to connect all 3 levels of the branch so that everyone can access everything in that branch. Once construction is complete, BPL will then go in and we will fit out the branch with new technology, public computers, furniture, and a fully refreshed collection. So that's the scope that we'll be doing.
Okay, so we have funding. Well, look, everyone knows this has been a very, SJ's clearly just read the New York Times story that came out moments ago. It's been a very challenging year budget-wise for the library, and we're glad that there's some good news. Though there was a very big hit to our capital budget. We lost about $47 million this year in our capital plans. But the good news is the library was able to fight to retain all the funding for the Pacific Library renovation, which is really great. It means that the entire budget for this project, which we've raised from many sources over the years, including the Gowanus rezoning, as you can see here, is still intact and available for this very significant renovation.
Right, so you'll see that there's $34.1 million from city government, from the Gowanus rezoning, from the Brooklyn Heights redevelopment project. We will also be applying for a roughly $3.3 million state grant that will actually bring the project budget up to about $37 million. We'll probably apply next year, so we're not including it in the total right now because we don't have it yet, but we will be applying for it, and we will get it. So we have a lot of money to do the project.
Yeah, it's one of our largest capital projects.
Yes.
So here's an approximate timeline. I want to start off with the first part, which is that the Board of Trustees at this past Tuesday, June 25th board meeting, voted to approve the library's architectural selection. Yeah, which is great news. And that said, because the architect has not yet had a chance to be onboarded, the contracts, all that stuff needs to be finalized, and the other applicants haven't yet been notified, we can't announce to you yet who it will be, but we are truly excited for the project to really begin.
So what you see here now is just sort of the proposed timeline. We included in our request for proposals what we anticipated each phase of design and then construction would spend doing. So what you see here is about 20 months for design and 24 months for construction. And once that concludes, the library then goes in and spends about 4 months fitting it out and putting all the new books and furniture and things in. As Michelle said, because the architect was just approved 2 days ago, we don't yet have a definitive timeline that we can give you concrete months and years, which I know everyone wants to see, and we will be able to provide that soon, but we need to give them a chance to begin the work that they have to do to design this wonderful, huge project for us. And I think that is it.
We look forward to working with you all.
Great. Thank you. Going to move to public art.
Yeah, she's just
here. I'm going to slide
getting closer to the mic.
Why don't we do this?
Okay. And before I start, Johnny, you also have slides, right?
I have a couple
Okay,
slides.
great.
Yes.
So I'm going really fast. Most of what I have is a review of things we've talked about in the past. I'm Emily Bachman. I'm a senior planner at the Department of City Planning in the Brooklyn office. We can go to the next slide. So talking about public art, first just want to set up the processes for approving public art in public spaces in New York City. First, there is the process for public sites and capital projects. So projects like what we just heard, parks and QPL talk about, capital projects go through the Public Design Commission, the PDC, for public review. That is not what we're talking about for the rest of the night, so we can go to the next slide. What I'm going to talk about and what I think Johnny is talking about is art in private spaces that are required to provide publicly accessible waterfronts. So as we've discussed in many past meetings, new developments along the canal are required to provide waterfront public access areas, which will be open to the public and functionally serve like a park. They are on private property, however. So these sites, before they get their certificates of occupancy, before they can tenant a building, they have to deliver a waterfront public access area that has its designs approved by the Department of City Planning, Parks Department, every relevant agency, to ensure that it is an excellent public space, that it's safe, that it's meeting all of our city requirements, both citywide requirements and then special requirements in Gowanus. In Gowanus, we have an incentive for developers to provide public art, and many of them have taken advantage of that incentive. They can provide public art either voluntarily or using this incentive. Either way, if they include it in their plans that are certified by DCP, then they're required to make it happen. And this slide has way too much text, but it will be available online for review. So this is the process for reviewing public art in private spaces in Gowanus. And I think the main takeaway here is that the city is looking at these public art proposals from a very broad lens. We are making sure it complies with zoning. We're making sure that it complies with like safety requirements, but we're not, we're trying to make the certification as flexible as possible so that the art can be changed over time and could be selected by the community. So the next slide is showing the public art that we anticipate to be provided in public access areas that are being constructed along the canal. We have certified 9 waterfront public access area plans plus 300 Huntington Street, which is not technically in the Gowanus waterfront access plan, but it's built, it's publicly accessible, and it's really close. So I'm including that in this slide. And you can see some examples here for 300 Huntington, there are pillars for art to be installed at a later date, which is subject to Parks Department construction approval. And then another example is at 267 Bond. They have included a lot of individual public art features in their plans, and that is where I'll pass it to Johnny.
Hi, everyone. I'm wearing two different hats a little bit tonight, as a member of the Public Infrastructure Committee, but also as a member of Arts Gowanus. I'm the executive director, and we really believe in the power of art as a catalyst to build stronger communities. And so when we heard all this public art was going in, we wanted to have as much community interaction as possible. And so what we decided to do was start a group called GNAC, which is the Gowanus Neighborhood Art Advisory Committee. And this is a broad bunch of voices. There's 26 members, half of them are artists from the community. Because Gowanus has always been a arts and culture neighborhood, because it's been mainly industrial and it had affordability and lots of artists came here because of that affordability, we wanted to make sure that we did our best to keep as much art and as much of the community feedback local artists. And so we had about half of them on the committee as local artists. We have members of Community Board 6, different organizations who have been in the neighborhood for a long time, and 5 of the developers who we are working with, who are going to be running through essentially presenting their art to this group for community feedback, because we want them to sort of be able to present work and get feedback before making final decisions. So that's the process of GNAC, and Parks and Scape are consulting us in this process. So it's just an educational tool for the neighborhood, and it's a place where everyone can give feedback in the neighborhood who's in this group. So we're really happy about this. We've had 2 meetings. We had our second meeting last Monday, and as more public art starts getting finalized and selected, they'll be presenting it to GNAC for the public comments. And then next slide. And so in the interest of the public art, Arts Gowanus we teamed up with 2 of the developers who wanted to place public art on their properties. There's 7 different public sculpture opportunities. So we created an open call. And so I urge everyone, if you know an artist in the neighborhood, if you are an artist in the neighborhood, please submit, because we want to keep both the artists and fabrication as local as we possibly can. Of course, we don't make the final decisions, but because we're working with these developers in helping bring this open call to fruition, we're hoping that this stays very local and very Gowanus. So that's going to be 5 works at 300 Nevins and 2 works at 267 Bond. And then we're working with other developers for, there's public seating that's going in, public seating sculptural elements that are coming in at 420 Carroll. And so we're going to be doing some sort of open call for local artists to actually paint that sculptural seating. And then we're also working with 198 Douglas for historical interpretive signs, which is very exciting. So we're still helping them pair with the designer. They're looking for very specific designs, but sort of talk about the history of Gowanus from the Ice Age to industrial. And that's it for me.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Parks, BPL, DCP, and Johnny. Let's start this Q&A session. The committee, do you want to ask some framing questions? And that can be for any of the agencies that are with us.
Could we go back to
In the microphone.
I'll do this. Could we go back to the timeline slide for the library? And I really do want to congratulate you on what appears to be some really good news. And may that spread to other agencies too. When there is, I was trying to figure this out, or sort of count what the months were. And when I saw like pre-design 3 months and schematic design 3 months, the way it was put up, I was reading them as these would be happening at the same time. Is that correct?
No, sorry.
No. So it's not 50. It's a bit. It's going to be a bit longer than I thought. Okay. The second question relates to the community engagement piece. And there are a number of people in this room who were at that visioning meeting, which was really very comprehensive. And I think you represented the priorities really well. Given that during that visioning session, basically what was coming up were physical issues. And the physical issues haven't really changed over that long a period. So can you explain to me what community engagement is going to be? Are you going to have to go to, say, Community Board 6 and Community Board 2, or are you going to be having another meeting? And basically, how much more will that add to the pre-construction time?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so just for clarification's sake, we stacked things so that our timeline would fit on the slide.
I see.
And community engagement is not meant to be something that takes up additional time. We placed it there because additional community engagement, should we have it, sort of fits between the schematic design and design development. That's the point at which the architect is coming up with designs based on, as you pointed out and we talked about earlier, the very sort of robust conversation we already had. But they may want to test out some ideas that they have, and they may want to ask the community, is this more in line with what you were thinking, or is this more in line? The way
from the Friends of the Library group or something like that.
Correct. It could be the Friends of the Library group. It could be, and of course we wouldn't shut that down. It could be, more than that if they wanted. But we don't anticipate that adds time. We think it complements the architect's process, and it's consistent with how we deal with other projects. Did you want to add anything?
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Great. Other committee questions?
It's really not, it's more of a comment than a question. But if you look at the list of city commitments, you can see that some of them are rather straightforward, like rebuild the Pacific Library. But if you look at public art, it's about as non-specific as you could get, and it says 9.5. Increase opportunities for public art and historic interpretation. So there was a bit of a vacuum there, which Johnny stepped up and DCP have stepped up, so that to build a framework within which the community can get involved in the art and encourage the developers to do so. So Johnny, not we, jumped in and really took the ball there to establish a framework to ensure that happened, because we're not convinced that without some assistance that would have happened, or that it really would have been art that would be appreciated by the community or be contextual, because developers might just plop down a piece of art if it meets all the requirements from the city, but not necessarily enhance the community or its access or its understanding of what's going on there. So that's just a little, by way of explanation, to say why we're here with that one POA.
Great. Open it up to the audience. Here, please.
Hi, I'm David Cutts, and I'm the president of Arts Gowanus, but I'm also the co-chair of the GNAC committee of GNAC. And what you just said is an interesting point and concern that I have, which is that we know there are property owners who have plans, who are developing plans, and who are submitting plans to the city for certification, and they are not coming to GNAC or keeping us fully informed. And so that's just a statement of fact. So how effective GNAC is going to be as a representative of, to permit community engagement, I will just say simply won't be perfect.
I would just say it depends on how annoying we are and how much we follow up with people and get them to give us feedback. And I can be pretty annoying.
I don't know if we can get greater cooperation out of city agencies that are actually in the flow. I mean, the property owners have to go to parks. They have to go to the Department of City Planning.
So great example, David. Thank you. That part of the benefit of this kind of meeting is getting that word out, talking to your fellow community stakeholders and residents, and beginning to spread the word. And it's something obviously the task force can help with, and I imagine our agency partners can also help with and engage.
It would be great. I mean, if we could assume that both parks and city planning would be questioning, the developers about was there any participation in terms of community review of these pieces. I mean, that would be a great idea.
I will say, so we've certified 9 Gowanus plans for waterfronts at this point. All of them presented to the community board when they were under our review. I don't think GNAC was in the process of being created at that time. So we certainly pushed them to present to the community board and push them to get public comments before finalizing. And now that we have GNAC to push them in the direction of, we certainly will be doing that when we get new applications.
It's a good question that, for us also the task force is, how aware is the community board of your work, right? So let's ensure that. I'm going to read a question off a note card. This is for the library. In the March 2023 public meeting of the task force, BPL reported that the architectural RFP would be issued in summer of last year. Why has an architect been approved only now? What can you tell us about the cause of the delay and how further delays of that kind are either presented or I would say prevented?
Fair question, thank you. We can't tell you much. I will say that the RFP was issued. It was extended to allow for additional applicants, and we wanted to make sure, our leadership of the library and the procurement process wanted to make sure we got the right fit for this very significant renovation.
This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for this branch. It is one of our largest capital projects right now, and we want to get it right. And we want to get it right for us. We want to get it right for the community. And to do that, we had to extend the RFP period, and we can't wait to share more information with you all. And we're really excited with our selection.
Just a point of information, you really reopened the bidding process, correct?
Yes, with the proposals, yes, correct.
So there was a previous RFP that was ended, closed, or no? It's the same?
It was the same.
Procurement.
It was just reopened.
Good. Questions for parks, library, city planning, public art? In back.
Good evening. My name is Owen Foote, and out of the 9 certified, it's a 2-part question. Out of the 9 certified projects, could you describe how many provide safe exit if somebody was to fall into the water? Second, like a ladder at least, if not a launch for public boating. And then second, how many other waterfront certifications are under review? And are any of those including safe exit or opportunities to actually use the soon-to-be clean Gowanus Canal?
Hi, Owen. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a bit. Unfortunately, I don't have off the top of my head the egress. We came prepared for public art and the old stone house, but I can certainly, review the plans and share them with you. And they're also all on ACRIS, so they're all the certification plans are public, and so we can look at that information together. And then the second question, there are 9 pending sites. None of them have started the review process with the Parks Department, and I don't think they've started with city planning, right?
So 9 are certified by city planning and are in the construction review process with parks. We don't have any new applications in our pipeline, and we also don't have any updates from the last presentation about waterfront public access. So I believe it was the last meeting that we presented at, we talked about access to the water. Those slides are still all up to date.
Those are
and they're
also,
all on the website.
Yeah, they're on the Gowanus Task Force website as well.
Well, there are 9 other waterfront parcels that have not moved. So There are 9 certified, and then there are 9 sites that aren't moving forward at this time.
Okay, let's get back to questions on the topic for tonight. From the card, will Eric Adams' budget cuts to parks and libraries impact the scope or timeline of these projects?
I can answer for parks. No, we have all the funding.
I mean, as we mentioned, all of the capital funding for this project, we have been able to keep safe.
Other questions from the audience? Here.
Maybe I misunderstood, but did you indicate that your additional community engagement was going to be solely through the community board?
Is that a question for me? So, no. DCP is committed to engaging with the task force. That's where it's the #1 commitment, is that DCP supports formation and ongoing functioning of the task force. What I was describing was when a private applicant comes to DCP for a certification of their waterfront public access area, they are not required, but we push them to engage with community stakeholders and to get early feedback on that design. In Gowanus, all of them have done so through the community board. And what I committed to was expanding that list of groups that we push them to engage with, to include GNAC.
So you have not had any real open community meetings apart from the community board to engage the entire community?
On design of public
Right.
I mean, I would argue that we've presented to this task force 2-3 times in detail about those designs. But it's also each developer is doing their own outreach and feedback gathering as well.
And I will say a lot of the art is, I mean, we're still doing open calls, so a lot of it hasn't happened yet. I mean, there's an open call, and then there'll be an RFP process for a lot of this public art. Mm-hmm. So there hasn't been a really chance to do that yet with a lot of the public art.
I'm only making a point that I have found over the years that presentations to a community board is not the same thing as presentations to the community itself.
Yeah, I'm not part of the community board. So.
There's half an hour left. To be fair to the Department of Transportation, our partners there, and a whole section on streets and safety. I'm going to close this section. I'm going to thank.
Can we just
No, they're going to thank the library, thank city planning, thank you parks, thank you committee for that section. I really appreciate it. Department of Transportation team, come on up. Do you want to frame this? What's that?
Are we taking a break?
No.
Not today.
I have to pee, so I'll come back.
Oh, I have to stretch, darling. I can't sit this long.
Let me just say, I'm sorry to. Hi.
Careful, you're welcome. All right. Okay, everybody, thanks. We're going to start the streets and safety discussion. We have a full team from the Department of Transportation. And Steve, you want to frame this just a little bit as well?
Sure. I'm going to be brief because I'm in the interest of time and getting done by 7.
Everybody, please. Just want to make sure we have everybody's attention, everybody can engage. Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to be very brief and just frame the second part of the discussion. I'm still Stephen Schechter, and this is still the members of the committee. The second portion of tonight's meeting will focus on several of the Department of Transportation's projects included in the city commitments. As we discussed earlier, an increase in population puts demands on Gowanus, including its roads, sidewalks, and bicycle lanes. Part of the city's commitments include capital improvements to street infrastructure in multiple locations in the rezoning area, and includes a study of truck traffic on 3rd Avenue and its relationship to the industrial business zone. Today, we're joined by Borough Commissioner Keith Bray and his team from the Department of Transportation, who will update us on the status of their projects. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Casey Grell, and I'm from DOT's Public Realm Unit, and I'm here to talk about our pedestrian and streetscape improvements capital reconstruction project. This project is entirely city mayoral funded. The total project is $66 million. Approximately $22 million is directly from the rezoning points of agreement. And during the scoping process and the creation of this project, we had identified additional needs for the community and sought additional mayoral funding to bring the total to $66 million. This is a multi-site public realm improvement in conjunction with the rezoning of Gowanus. Preliminary timelines are designed starting in 2025, finishing in 2027, with construction starting in 2028 and completing in 2030. The project is made up of 5 locations in the Gowanus area. The first is Hoyt Street and Union Street, then the 3rd Avenue, the 3rd Street Bridge west of the canal, Carroll Street from Bond Street to Nevin Street, Smith Street at 9th Street, and 3rd Avenue from Carroll Street to 6th Street. An overview of the overall project timeline. So the project is fully funded and has been fully scoped, and that was completed by DOT. The project has been transferred to the Department of Design and Construction, and the department will be kicking off design in fall of 2024. Final design will occur between 2025 and 2027, construction potentially starting in as early as late 2027, but potentially 2028, and then completion in late 2029 or early 2030. From a capital project outreach process, our typical process is that DDC will designate a community liaison after design has fully kicked off. The process includes community board presentations at schematic design, so those are open public meetings. We will come back and do a community board update at final design if needed, based off of feedback from schematic design. We also present to the Public Design Commission during final design. And then there's a community notification process prior to construction and consistent updates to the community during construction. So now I'm going to go through each location one by one. So starting with location A, this is Hoyt Street and Union Street. This location was specifically identified in the rezoning points of agreement for DOT to study additional pedestrian safety improvements. We are proposing a raised intersection at this intersection. We're proposing curb extensions on all 4 corners to increase sidewalk space, as some of the sidewalks are quite narrow. We're also including public realm amenities, including seating and bike parking, specifically adjacent to the nearby public school. And the goal of this project is really to increase pedestrian safety, increase pedestrian priority, and calm traffic entering the intersection. There's also some additional safety data. There's been 3 pedestrian injuries, 1 bicyclist injury, 3 motor vehicle occupant injuries, and 2 other motorized injuries over the past 5 years. So really looking to improve safety at this intersection, specifically adjacent to a public school with a high number of children crossing the intersection. Location B is the 3rd Street Bridge. This is west of the canal. This project will look to add a new signalized crossing to increase access to the new public waterfront walkways, so people can walk along the waterfront and cross each street to continue on their path. We're proposing curb extensions to shorten the crossing and also proposing upgrades to the storage area, which is a DOT Bridges storage area, by including our new L fence typical, which is a more aesthetically pleasing fence over what's currently there, pending a maintenance partner agreement, which we're currently working through. The 3rd location is Carroll Street between Bond and Nevin Street. This project will propose a new signalized crossing at Bond Street, which was actually from the rezoning EIS. The signal was triggered due to the new development and increased trips. We're also proposing curb extensions at all the locations. At the Carroll Street Bridge, we are proposing 2 new enhanced crossings. They are uncontrolled marked crossings. They will be raised crossings in historic materials to connect people from waterfront access Plan to Waterfront Access Plan. And the goal of these raised crosswalks is to accommodate pedestrian access while maintaining the historic Carroll Street Bridge, and also maintaining bridge operations. We're also proposing a raised intersection and new crossings at Nevin Street and Carroll Street to facilitate crossing, specifically for the new development and the increased pedestrian trips at that intersection. The fourth location is at Smith Street and 9th Street. The goal of this project location is to increase bicycle safety with the new protected bike lanes that were added in 2023 along 9th Street. Due to the limited roadway space, we're not able to create fully protected bike lanes while accommodating bus access. So we are going to be raising the bike lanes up to sidewalk level while allowing level boarding for bus to maintain ADA accessibility. This is a relatively new treatment that we're piloting as part of this project to increase bicyclist safety while maintaining bus access. And the final location is 3rd Avenue from Carroll Street to 6th Street. The goal of this project location is to widen sidewalks. There are several locations along 3rd Street where the sidewalk narrows to as much as 1 foot, which is not ADA accessible and really not accommodating of a walking city at all. It's pretty staggering, the amount of space that pedestrians don't have. So this project would widen sidewalks for the corridor and add protected bike lanes in both directions along the stretch of 3rd Avenue. And this location is still under study as part of a broader study of 3rd Avenue that stretches from 65th Street all the way to Carroll Street. So still a little bit work to do on this proposal.
Yeah, so my name is Keith Bray with DOT. So as far as the 3rd Avenue study is concerned, we are going to have a capital project on that stretch of the road to meet our POA requirements, but we're going to perform a study first. It's going from Carroll to 62nd Street that Casey just mentioned, and that's going to be looked at by various units within DOT, and also we're going to have our consultant to help us look at that. There's going to be much more public outreach on all those things. It will lead to a public project, probably a safety project in Sunset Park, which doesn't affect this area, but it is going to inform the design of 3rd Avenue. There'll be more outreach as we get closer to that. There are 3 other studies that are also going to impact what we're going to look at as far as 3rd Avenue. One is there's a Red Hook study. That study was basically formed by the community because they were concerned about last mile facilities in Red Hook. But the information on that study, particularly with truck movements and going into and out of Red Hook with the large last mile facilities in Red Hook, will inform some of the design decisions that we'll make in 3rd Avenue. There's also the citywide freight study. There's a local law that we're following, getting comments from the public. That has been extended to the end of July now. And so on our website, you can go there and give suggestions on where you think truck routes can come and go. We're going to look at that, and that's going to be a guide to some updates on the citywide truck map. So that's something that you should all participate in whether in this study or out. And lastly, we are looking at loading zone expansion, right? So we also had a local law that said we had to have more loading zones within New York City and install them. And so we're also taking suggestions on those, and the website can see that, and that can also inform what 3rd Avenue is going to look at. And so the last slide basically talks about how we're going to go to the public for these things as the plans develop and the study develops. And then from there, that would inform what the design of 3rd Avenue looks like moving forward. And with that, we'll take questions.
I just have one question, thanks. And we've asked this privately, but because we're here in this forum, I just want to raise it again. We know you've finished your design at DOT and you've turned the project over to DDC. Why can't DOT take some interim measures now at some of these locations between now and 2027 when we think construction might begin?
So we did look at making in-house improvements. So we have what's called a street improvement project program where we make interim improvements with our in-house resources. Many of these locations with like the raised intersections, the raised crossings, they have drastic impacts on underground utilities and drainage. So we are limited in what we can do in-house. We're not able to like really change drainage patterns, move catch basins. So a lot of these improvements are capital-only improvements. Specifically with 3rd Avenue, widening sidewalks is a very expensive endeavor. We're probably going to have to relocate utilities and do a lot of underground work, so that is also a very capital-focused endeavor.
And I know there's a funding for a study of 3rd Avenue. Is there subsequent capital funding either identified or available to do the things like widen 3rd Avenue more than a foot at that pinch point?
Yeah, so we'll be requesting funding, and based on what the study finds, and that will lead to what we're going to need. So we don't have that now, but when the study, with the feedback from the community we have as we go through that, will help determine what money we'll need.
And then will it follow a similar process to likely an in-house DOT design that will then go to DEDC because of all the utility work that's going to be probably required?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Other committee questions? Audience for DOT? Here.
This is nice to see the future improvements, but some of the safety issues during the current construction within Gowanus have been pretty significant. Lots of truck traffic moving around in the street, crossing lines, moving on the wrong side of the street. There was just the accident on Bond this week. Are there things that DOT is trying to do to work with all the existing construction to improve safety?
Yeah, and that was a terrible tragedy that happened earlier this week, and we're looking to improvements at the intersection. As far as interim suggestions for safety, yes, that's part of our job. So that's what we do all the time. And so if there's areas that we need to look at to improve, we're happy to do so. All construction sites are supposed to follow basically stipulations we give them, and those stipulations mean the area around their site should be safe. They don't always follow that maybe, and then we have inspectors to go there to look at them and actually cite them and give them violations if they violate that. But those areas that the public has, I'm just saying now, but there's ways to reach out to us and let us know. We can see if they're following, if there's changes that need to be made.
Take another audience question and go here.
Thank you for sharing all these updates. I wanted to ask about a POA item that was not included in the presentation, but just to see if you have any status updates on the Nevin Street POA item. And maybe it gets a little lost. It's between the CSO tank and Thomas Green Park. I think there was supposed to be study of that little portion of street. Is that on your radar?
Yeah, so that was DP's doing their project there, and what they basically did was they came to us and asked us if they could include any elements. I don't remember offhand what it was, but I think it was a couple of sidewalk bump outs to increase pedestrian space there. So that's something that they're going to do as part of their project. I know in terms of other discussions with the POA, we've talked about the possibility of making other changes on the street, like some kind of shared street design or open street design. And open streets is something we can look at once the construction is done. We just have a rolling program for submissions for that. So once the construction is done, that's something that we can take a look at doing there.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up. So open streets would be different though than like a shared street would be actually like a capital project, right? Like, is that something that you would consider?
It's something theoretically we would consider. It's not something we're specifically looking at here. We're more looking for opportunities. It would be easier to do something like an open street, like you're saying. So that's something that we would consider once the construction is done.
Okay, I think just real quick, I think there is a lot of interest from the community in exploring that, particularly because there's going to be two parks on either side of that street. So I just wanted to flag that.
Also that it would be part of the Thomas Green Park POA, not the CSO tank POA.
Thank you. Question from the card. It's a multiple part question. It sounds like the 3rd Avenue truck study is a big deal that will affect all of the rezoning related transportation capital projects. First, do I understand that right? If so, is that why the design phase is 2 years long?
So I would say impact. What the study will look at is what's planned and what's looking forward in the future. So not only what's going on 3rd Avenue, but the other neighborhoods I was talking about, Red Hook, et cetera. And actually now with what's happening in Red Hook Terminal with the EDC, that's going to have to be taken into account as well. So what all that would mean to truck traffic and other traffic on 3rd Avenue and surrounding streets now and into the future, what the projections will look like, what the facilities will look like, that would be part of the study. And so that will inform what will happen at certain locations, what's going to be there. So that's basically how the study would inform what we would be able to do in the capital project. And that is going to take some time. That's not something that can be done in a couple of weeks. It takes some time to get a traffic model and get that all together.
More clarifying questions about the study. So what exactly is the 3rd Avenue traffic study? What are its objectives? What kinds of outcomes will it determine? And what is the schedule? For example, what are the phases? Where are you now among those phases? And how long will all this last?
Yeah, I can't so try to recount all those questions, but I don't know about phasing. We don't have that right now. That's something that we can give to the public when we have the details on that. Where we are currently is that we're beginning to formulate the base of the study and how we're going to move forward on that. And when we get to the point of getting the answers to that, then we'll go to the public and let you know where we are and what direction we're going into. I don't know if I got all those questions, but
It's funded through the operating budget?
yeah, right now that's in operating budget, yes.
Question from the audience?
At SBIDC. Oh, here we go. I'm Jesse, the ED of SBIDC. So I think I want a little more clarity on the 3rd Ave study and then the Red Hook traffic truck study. So let me start with the Red Hook one because that is quicker, I think. It says it's going to include a segment of 3rd Avenue. Which segment of 3rd Avenue is that?
It's not, it's less of the segment 3rd Avenue is really the small part south of going down Hamilton. There's a large, it's about last mile facilities, so it's a big one at 20th Street. So that's really where it is on 3rd Avenue. It doesn't take much more of that, but still trucks going in and out of Red Hook could have an impact on the rest of 3rd Avenue. So it still is important, but just the geographic is just that part where that one big facility is coming.
Got it. So it's really a study of last mile facilities, and so it includes the big one on 20th in Sunset Industrial.
Correct.
And has that started already?
It has started. We've had some public meetings on it. We're probably going to have some updates after the summer on where we're heading next. We've done a lot of the information gathering on that, so for that study.
Okay, and then the 3rd Ave study, did I hear correctly that there is going to be a protected bike lane on the portion of 3rd Ave in Gowanus?
We haven't determined that at all. So Sunset Park, there was a proposal south from Prospect to 62nd Street. And so that's still something that the study has to look at that. And also, as talking to you in the past, there's going to have to be a lot of public outreach on that. So no final decisions made on that part. For the Carroll Street down to Prospect, nothing has been determined at all. So it's period. That's what the study's about.
Has any engagement started on the Carroll Street to Prospect?
No, that's part of the thing that has to get started. And you're actually your IDC is one of the people we're going to be engaging with. So that's part of the engagement plan.
Can't wait. Okay.
Neither can we.
Great. Thank you.
Other questions, please. Here.
So I have a question. Like, let's say, so for the Gowanus houses area, like on Bond Street, let's say, like that's like between like Wyckoff and what's the other one? I'm like Douglas. Let's say like I wanted to, like, let's say the community wanted to like have better sidewalks, like more, like I just seen a lot of like potholes in the sidewalks and stuff like that. Like, is there a way that I can input that in like a survey or like a, like a, not a survey, but like to ask for that, service? Is there like a website or something that I can go to for the DOT to like petition for that, basically, is what I'm asking?
You mean to improve sidewalks? So briefly, sidewalks are the responsibility of property owners. So it's not the city's responsibility to add a sidewalk. So whoever owns a sidewalk there, the maintenance and the liability is into them according to local law. So they have to put the sidewalk there.
Okay, thank you.
But you can make a 311 call to
to report a dangerous sidewalk where there's a tripping hazard.
Right, and if it's NYCHA property, they're responsible for the maintenance of that sidewalk.
Correct.
Question here?
Two quick questions. The Carroll Street Bridge, is there a timeline on that reopening? It's easy, number one. Number two, there were bike lane improvements on 9th Street that were very, very inadequate. There were bollards put in, I think between like 2nd and 3rd Ave, and they're all gone, and they've been replaced, and they're all gone again. So is there a possibility of that raised bike lane that's proposed by Smith and 9th to extend to other parts of 9th Street, or how to just generally improve the inadequate bike infrastructure that was put in on 9th Street?
Carroll Street Bridge, it was closed in a joint work of our Bridges Agency and also the Gowanus Trust. I don't know the time that's to be opening. There's work that has to be done on the bridge. We can give you more information on that. 9th Street, if there are the bollards, you're talking about the plastic bollards have been removed, then we can put them back in. We didn't put Jersey barriers on the whole length because there are trucks that go through there and have to turn in and turn out, particularly the oil depot there. And there was a couple instances where they actually rolled up on the Jersey barrier, it just didn't work, so they had to be removed. So they are where they need to be inappropriate. We think it's a safe design and made it a bigger improvement. As far as 9th Street on the other side of 4th Avenue up, it is a parking protected bike lane. We think that design is adequate to do the job it needs to be doing, and it has made it safer.
Hi, how are you? I just wanted to make sure I understood what you said about the potential impact on the timing on the 3rd Street, or 3rd Avenue, study based on the EDC announcement and Governor Hochul's announcement about the review related to the marine terminal. Did I understand that you said that? Because that process will take years.
No. Whatever. If we're not going to take years for the study, but if anything we find out as we're doing our study comes out of that, we'll add it to what our knowledge on what the existing and then future conditions are. So as the study is going on, and it's not, again, the study's not going to end in 2024. So sometime in 2025, we hear something more about what's going on there, then it's incumbent upon us to add that to future conditions. That's what I meant.
I see, okay. Just as long as the 3rd Avenue piece isn't delayed as a result.
Understood.
Hi, I have a question about the raised bike lanes. Is there a plan to include concrete barriers with that, or is the only protection that they're just raised slightly?
For the Smith Street bike lanes, they wouldn't have full barriers, so we can maintain bus access, so someone needs to get off the bus and be able to cross to the sidewalk. So those would just have a raised curb, a 6-inch steel face curb on those sections. For the 3rd Avenue from Carroll to 6th, these would be raised and parking protected, so there's also not really a need for a full concrete barrier, but there would be a curb, raised tree buffer, raised bike path, and parking protection.
Okay, I just have a comment that I think anything that doesn't have a concrete barrier, I would consider to be insufficient. And the reason I say that actually is, so June 1st of 2022, my friend Andrew Thomas was killed by a driver. Her name's Rachel Golden. Rachel was driving an SUV and she was high on PCP and cocaine at the time she was driving. So without physical protection, a physical barrier, we're just at risk every time we get on a bike.
No, I think that's a good point. We do provide as much protection as we can, while we also do have to maintain access to the curb. There is like a bit of a push and pull between full protection, but if someone needs to get off the bus, they can't get off the bus and then walk on the roadway because there's a barrier there. So that's some of the design treatments we have to work around.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, I just got a text from President Biden saying he's excited about his debate tonight. Maybe you're excited to watch it as well. So I'm going to wrap up. First of all, thank you, Department of Transportation team. Really, really, really appreciate all the essential work that you're doing. Thank you, committee, for all the essential work that you're doing. We'll send out a reminder and some communications when the recording and meeting materials And then the full question and answers have been posted. Agencies obviously need a couple of weeks to answer all questions that are submitted. But we'll also update you when the Gowanus Task Force Commitments Tracker is updated on the website as well. Other than that, thank you so much for engaging in this process. Thanks for joining. Happy summer, stay safe, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.